What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane, and thank you as always for checking out the video. As we continue to journey through the best builds in Destiny, we're taking a look at a solar build that we haven't talked about much here lately. With all the recent upgrades to buddies, those autonomous builds have become quite popular, but I found that they have also become really boring because all you're doing is activating turrets and letting them handle the majority of the work for you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't still use those setups, but to create a little variety in your gameplay, you might want to consider checking out the Sunbracers. We've talked about this set of gauntlets in the past, and it's been a great exotic to build around at different times, but I always found it to be very one-dimensional, and you had to strictly adhere to a specific gameplay loop, or you'd miss out entirely on its benefits. But when Edge of Fate dropped and Bungie released Armor 2.0, we saw new opportunities to maximize our damage output and to improve our ability uptime. And we started getting armor sets that brought even more variety to build crafting. And some of those armor sets have had really powerful synergy with the Sunbracers, giving this exotic a bit of a facelift. This exotic comes with the Helium Spiral's intrinsic trait, which provides multiple improvements to our solar grenade. When this grenade option is equipped, we'll be able to throw them further, and they'll apply damage for 2 seconds longer, and because we are using the Touch of Flame aspect, those grenades will get another 2-second extension, and they'll periodically release magma, which deals additional damage. In addition to those benefits, when we defeat enemies with our powered melee, we'll trigger a buff called Sunbracers Ready. We are using the Incinerator Snap with this build, which does require us to be in close proximity of our enemy, but they're going to be a much more reliable option, and as long as we defeat enemies with the snap, or the ignition that the snap creates, we'll still be able to trigger the Sunbracers buff. When this gets activated, we will have a 5-second window to where our grenade regeneration will be significantly increased. So once we throw the first grenade, we'll get a 20,000% bonus in grenade regen, and that's going to let us throw out as many as 3 extra overpowered solar grenades. And because we are using the Heat Rises aspect, we'll be able to fully restore our melee energy as we defeat those enemies with grenades, allowing us to immediately reactivate Sunbracers. We would need to consume a grenade to be able to activate Heat Rises, but in doing so, we would create a burst of cure that would provide us with 120 HP, and that would get applied to all nearby teammates. Once it's been triggered, Heat Rises will remain active for 30 seconds, and by defeating enemies while we're airborne, will generate bonus melee energy. This provides between 20 and 50% additional energy, and what's really nice about this is that you can receive that bonus energy just by hopping around. An additional benefit in using Heat Rises is that it will upgrade our Phoenix staff. Not only will this provide a 2-stack of cure whenever Heat Rises is active, but it's going to trigger restoration, and any enemy that's nearby is going to get scorched. So before we even factor in class fragments, our Song of Flame super, our weapons, armor, and artifact mods, we're already giving ourselves a reliable and massive bonus in damage, improved ability uptime, and multiple options to provide instant health recovery. One of the most notable differences about the Sunbracers now is that we have the opportunity to increase their base damage by building into our grenade stat. With a 200 grenade stat, we would give each of our solar grenades a 65% increase in damage. And I understand that this can be difficult to reach, so if you are coming in short, then I would recommend taking advantage of grenade font mods, because with 3 of these equipped, we would gain an extra 50 stat points. But that would only apply whenever we have armor charges active, so you're going to need to run armor mods like Siphon, Firepower, Heavy Handed, and Reaper so that you can maintain that bonus. We could also make use of weapons with attrition orbs, so that we would create additional orbs of power on sustained weapon damage. With our powered melee being the key to activating Sunbracers, we do want to focus a good amount of points into that stat. Once we've hit 100, we'll give any source of melee regen a 190% bonus. So if we were using weapons that come with Pugilist, this would start providing 19% instead of 10. And by exceeding 100, we'll start giving our Incinerator Snap extra damage. It is more important to have our grenade at 200 than it is our melee, but if we could at least get it to around 150, we'd have a nice 15% bonus in damage, which would help guarantee that our melee is going to be able to take down enemies. Another option we have to improve our melee uptime is utilizing the Monte Carlo exotic auto rifle, since this provides bonus melee energy as you apply sustained damage. On its own, the Monte Carlo is not very powerful, but if we were to throw in a 2 set of TechSec armor, we would give the Monte Carlo and any other kinetic weapon a 200% increase against any enemy shield. In higher end content, it's way more common to see enemies with shields, so being able to break those before we hit them with our powered melee will ensure that we're able to activate Sunbracers. An area of weakness that a lot of solar builds have historically maintained is a lack of bonus resistance, but with a 2-set bonus of Smoke Jumper, we'd give ourselves bonus damage resistance whenever collecting an orb. That's going to start as a 45% increase, but it drops down to 15% as it stays active, and it continues to provide benefits for 3 seconds. And to improve our survivability even more, we'd have an extra source of health recovery by using the Recuperation Boots mod. With one mod equipped, we would gain 15 points of health off of each orb, but because of how this functions currently, 2 mods would provide 75 points. A few other armor sets to consider using with this exotic are the Bushido and Iron Banner sets, which give us a source of health recovery off of weapon final blows. There's also the Lustrous armor set, which would give us health regen whenever rapidly defeating enemies with any source of solar damage. But we'd have to be wearing a 4 set of that armor, which makes a mixture of Tech-Sec, Iron Banner, Bushido, or Smoke Jumper much more appealing. Now when it comes to our choice of solar fragments, we've elected to go with Ember of Ashes and Ember of Char because they're going to have a direct impact on the performance of our solar grenades and our incinerator snap. Ember of Ashes doubles the amount of scorch that gets applied to enemies, which is going to result in ignitions getting set off faster, and Ember of Char will cause those ignitions to spread scorch. We've also got Ember of Torches, so when we strike enemies with our powered melee, we'll trigger Radiance. This provides a 20% bonus in weapon damage, and it gives all of our weapons the ability to pierce barrier shields. But this is also going to activate the Shieldcrush artifact mod, which provides a 25% increase in grenade damage, and a 25% increase in regen whenever we have Radiance active. That's going to be on top of the bonus damage that our character stats provide, and since we'll generate bonus melee energy whenever Heat Rises is active, we'll easily be able to maintain that bonus. As far as our final fragment goes, we could go with Ember of Resolve. This would provide us with 60 points of health whenever defeating enemies with our grenade, and that includes our Song of Flame grenade. But if we take into account that we have Phoenix Dive, Recuperation, Heat Rises, and possibly even an armor set, providing us with even more options of health recovery, then we're not really going to need Ember of Resolve. And that opens us up to use a fragment like Ember of Searing, which will grant bonus melee energy whenever we defeat scorched enemies. This provides between 8 and 25% bonus energy, but based on how our character stats are set up, that could be even more. In addition to the bonus melee energy, we'll generate fire sprites whenever defeating scorched enemies, and that's going to give us even more incentive to use solar weapons that come with Burning Ambition and Incandescent. Outside of the natural synergy that this build will have with solar weapons and the Monte Carlo, we'd get a lot of benefits out of using the Buried Bloodline. This exotic sidearm is the only weapon that can trigger Devour, and when that's active, we'll have a constant source of bonus health regen and bonus grenade energy. It even applies a lesser form of weakening, so by using this exotic, we're going to have the opportunity to deal 15% bonus damage. Like I said at the top of the video, the Sunbracers used to be a very one-dimensional build. But with these new armor sets, new artifact mods, weapon perks, and armor systems, the Sunbracers have really evolved into a very well-rounded build that will make a great option for optimal ad clear, for optimal damage, and even optimal survival. The only downside about Sunbracers is that it's not considered a featured exotic, which means you're not going to be able to use it in activities that feature the Avante Guard modifier. But in just about everything else, this build is going to outright dominate. So if you've been getting bored of those autonomous buddy builds, it might be time to check out the Sunbracers. With that said, I wish you all the best of luck out there. If you need any help getting this build set up, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics or dim links which are down below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. So does being a member, so a big shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.